Okay, Star Wars fans, we all saw the gameplay for Jedi Fallen Order. We all got excited. What's next? Let's get started. Ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba-ba. Hello, my friends. Welcome to Thumb Together. My name is Andrew Fantasia. Thank you so much for tuning in. And as usual, if you enjoy this video, please feel free to give it a thumbs up and give some love to that subscribe button as well. Okay, E3 has come and gone. They've shown us tons of footage of Jedi Fallen Order, including gameplay, which I always like to see. EA Games is finally making a Star Wars game. I feel like the only way I can respond to that is by quoting Professor Albus Dumbledore by saying, "Yes, well done, Slytherin, however." That's it, that's all the Dumbledore quote I got. Here's the thing, the deal between Disney and EA Games for the Star Wars license was finalized, I believe, in around 2013-ish. That means we have had 6 years for EA to produce top quality, canon Star Wars video games. That's the rub. The games all had to fit into canon while still being playable and decent. What do they give us so far? Battlefront, not playable or decent. Battlefront 2, about 45 minutes of canon, so there was that. Now we're finally getting Jedi Fallen Order. So what's the purpose of this video essay? Why am I wasting your time right now? Because I believe in those 6 years, EA Games, despite what they might want to tell you, had several opportunities to make big, fun, exciting, canon Star Wars games. They just cocked it up. They cocked up that opportunity, and now we're finally getting a game that looks decent 6 years later. So as a thank you to EA and to everybody who's involved with making Jedi Fallen Order, which I assume is going to be good, I hope, here is a gift for you guys, for the developers, for anybody watching who knows the first thing about making a video game happen. Here is my gift to you, because as a guy who loves Star Wars and a guy who loves video games, I can think of plenty of ways you could have filled those 6 years with greatness that could have gone down in the video game legends for generations to come, instead of having to wait 6 years for one good game. With that introduction out of the way, I present to you this list of 10 canon video games that EA could make today. Obviously, I don't know anything about the Rise of Skywalker yet. We don't know how that story is going to unfold and play out, so I tried to stay away from that area of canon, but there's so much more to explore. It can be done. So strap yourself in no particular order. Here they are, 10 canon video games EA can make today. Let's go simple as a pimple with number 1, Bounty Hunter. We already had a so-so Bounty Hunter game starring Jango Fett back in the PS2 era, but I'm talking about something much more substantial here. First of all, let's create a brand new Bounty Hunter for the game, okay? Let's call her Visor Krail. That's a Star Warsy name. Visor Krail is a Twi'lek bounty hunter who's just trying to make her way through the galaxy. She just wants to survive, put food on the table, and keep her head above the water. How does she do that? Collecting bounties, shooting folks, living day by day in the underworld of Star Wars. This could theoretically be set in any of the time periods, but let's go with the original trilogy era. Because this is a brand new character, we can go nuts with the depth of her story. So let's make this one a big action RPG, something like The Witcher 3 or Borderlands 2, with a lot of dialogue and story moments. There are 4 planets, each with large maps to explore and people to meet. Visor Krail can talk to NPCs and take on jobs from them. The jobs could vary between collecting a series of items to escorting someone through hostile territory to assassinating a high-ranking Imperial officer. Why not? Of course, since she's a bounty hunter, the crux of the game will revolve around a series of bounties that Visor wants to cash in on. Let's say there are a dozen of these bounties, but they're all powerful, high-level characters, so Visor needs to perform smaller quests to earn XP and level up before she's strong enough to take them on. You gain credits, experience points, and rewards for completing missions and turning in bounties. In most cases, capturing a bounty alive can yield even greater bonuses than just killing them outright. With these RPG elements in place, Visor, her weapons, her armor, and even her spaceship can all be fully upgradable and customizable. Now, Visor Krail is great and all, but what if we just want to slip into the shoes of our classic characters from Star Wars lore? How do you play as somebody as big as Luke or Leia or Anakin when you have canon to worry about? I say it can be done. And here's how. Number 2, Rebel Yell. Luke, Leia, Han, Chewbacca, and the droids are off performing some milk run mission for the rebellion when the Falcon gets incapacitated by an ion blast, and they have to make an emergency landing on an unknown planet. Let's call the planet Mazara. Mazara is home to a fierce race of warrior monks called the Azum. The monks are hostile, cruel, and unfriendly to both the Empire and the Rebellion. They shot down the Falcon with an ion blast because they wanted to capture its occupants and sacrifice them to their god of suns. R2 was on the outside of the Falcon trying to fix it during their emergency landing, so he ended up falling and being captured by the Azum monks. With the ship in dire need of repairs and R2 needing rescuing, the rebel heroes plunge into the labyrinth-like complex of the Azum's Sun Temple to search for their missing droid friend. This can take place anywhere inside those 3 years between A New Hope and The Empire Strikes Back. If Marvel Comics has proved anything lately, it's that our trio of main heroes were ridiculously busy performing rebel tasks during that time period anyway. I mean, seriously, Marvel, it's been like 70 issues now. When are you just going to get to Empire Strikes Back already? They can only have so many adventures in those 3 years. Just please get to the point. This is a stealth and combat action-adventure game, something very similar to the Batman Arkham games. Just like in Arkham Asylum, you're confined to one location, the Sun Temple, but it's a sprawling area with multiple buildings, passageways, tunnels, hidden rooms, etc. You can play as Luke, Leia, and Han, and you're able to switch freely between the three of them. Each has their own set of special skills, items, and combat moves. And you know what? Why not? Because it's fun, I'm going to give each of them character-specific collectibles, too. Remember how in Donkey Kong 64, each of the Kongs had their own specific colored bananas that they could pick up? I'm going to go with the same basic principle here. We'll pepper the map with a bunch of data chips in 3 different colors. Yellow for Luke, red for Leia, blue for Han. If you manage to find all 150 of these data chips, they unlock a secret door somewhere in the temple that yields a really rare treasure. Maybe ancient body armor or an old Republic-era lightsaber or something. It's totally optional. Just a fun collectathon side mission. There will also be collectible relics which, when found, reveal more of the lore of Mazara and its people, adding some juicy new elements to the overall canon. Halfway through the story, an Imperial shuttle, having tracked the Falcon's signal, also gets shot down by the monks, and now the rebel heroes have to contend with bloodthirsty monks and Imperial stormtroopers. There can also be special points throughout the story where you're able to control Chewbacca, C-3PO, and eventually R2-D2. Just for kicks, throw in unlockable alternate skins like X-Wing pilot Luke and Slave Leia if you want to switch up the character's aesthetics. Altogether, you've essentially got a really, really good Batman Arkham game with lightsabers. Yes, please. This kind of game would sell like hotcakes. And if enough people clamor for a sequel, well, how about this? Number 3. Separatists yell? What if we take the same basic outline of the last game, but switch it up a bit? This time we're following 3 villains during the Clone Wars. Count Dooku, Asajj Ventress, and General Grievous. Dooku and Ventress are contacted by a Separatist general claiming that one of their facilities on Geonosis was attacked and all of the soldiers inside mysteriously disappeared. Fearing a threat bigger than mere clone troopers, the Sith and his apprentice journey to the Geonosian facility to sort things out. Once there, they find out that a subspecies of natives known as Grey Geonosians laid waste to the facility. They used hallucinogenic pastes to alter the minds of the human soldiers and reprogrammed all of the battle droids. The humans, now mad and raving, are roaming the halls, writing things on the wall in their own blood and doing other generally nightmarish things. Once he discovers just how serious the threat is, and that finding and eliminating the Grey Queen is the only way to cut the rot out at its source, Dooku radios to Grievous and demands he fly in and assist them in clearing the facility of crazed soldiers, rogue droids, and Grey Geonosian drones. This will take place early in the Clone Wars, when Ventress was still being tutored by Dooku. Being a spiritual successor to the last game, this one will feature very similar gameplay with a few small added tweaks. Again, it's like going from Arkham Asylum to Arkham City. The facility on Geonosis is made up of several interior and exterior locations, including a large barracks tower, a droid factory, a communications center, a medical center, and others. There are also tunnels honeycombing beneath it all in true Geonosian fashion. We'll bring back the character-specific collectibles. Ventress can have red, Grievous can have green, and Dooku can have gold. These will unlock an optional boss fight with an interesting new character. Perhaps there's a bounty hunter stalking the facility trying to kill these 3 high-ranking Separatists, and the only way to get to him or her is by opening a secret door, unlocked by finding all 150 of these things. Because of the terrifying nature of the Grey Geonosians, the crazed soldiers, the murderous droids, and the 3 villainous protagonists, this game will put a much bigger emphasis on horror moments. Imagine turning a corner in a dark room, lit only by the glow of your lightsaber, and suddenly you look up, and there's a Grey Geonosian clinging to the ceiling, staring down at you and snarling with foam dripping from its mouth. This game can be darker, edgier, and scarier than its light side counterpart. A true bone-chilling Star Wars horror experience, the likes of which we haven't really seen before. We can even release the game around Halloween to really play up this whole motif. And hey, if this leaves you with a taste for even more edgy Star Wars stories, take a bite out of this puppy. Number 4. Akira Maul Crime Story. We know that Maul and Kira did some really questionable things in the name of Crimson Dawn, so why not let us see those things? Or better yet, why not let us do them? The game's story takes the simple, tried-and-true formula of trying to garner power in the criminal underworld. Maul and Kira are expanding their empire by squeezing out other cartels like Black Sun or the Cremora, while dealing with pesky Imperials along the way. The story can also fill in gaps in canon, explaining how/why Maul broke away from the crime business and ended up on Malachor, while also revealing Kira's fate. This game can take place before, during, and after the events of Solo. Take a page out of the book of crime sagas like Grand Theft Auto or Saints Row. The idea of playing as Crimson Dawn, clawing their way to the top of the totem pole, is one I think a lot of gamers can get behind. Maybe the game drops you into 3 different cities on 3 different planets. One city is run by Black Sun, one is run by the Hutts, and the third is ruled over by the Empire. Controlling both Maul and Kira, your job as a player is to take over territories, squeeze out the other crime syndicates, and keep all the power for yourself. Think of the gang territory control mechanic from GTA San Andreas. There might be RTS aspects of this as well, establishing bases for your crew, keeping your gangs fed, and maintaining Crimson Dawn's budget. The be-all, end-all goal of this game should be money and power. Plain and simple. Dryden Voss and Enfys Nest could even make cameos. Imagine an awesome boss battle where you play as Kira and you have to duel Enfys and her gang of Cloud Riders. Friggin' sweet. Speaking of crime simulators and the word crimson, that all serves as a perfect segue into game number 5. Crimson Corsair. You play as Sidon Ithano, the Crimson Corsair. Since we know very little about Ithano's story, the game has plenty of room to construct a tale around him. He falls into that sweet spot of being an existing character a lot of diehard fans know about, while at the same time being a blank slate that Story Group can start to fill in throughout the game's plot. Ithano is an adventurer, off to explore the galaxy, plunder riches, and generally have a grand old piratey time. But we'll also give him some kind of interesting personal story. Maybe, let's say, he has a brother and a sister who disappeared when he was very young, and he's been spending his whole life trying to find them, using pirating/adventuring as an excuse to travel to every imaginable corner of the galaxy in the hopes of stumbling upon his lost family. That gives us a goal for the game. It makes Ithano instantly more likable and interesting, and it gives us wiggle room to flesh out more deep pockets of Star Wars lore. This game can take place before, during, and after the events of The Force Awakens. The whole game is a pirate simulator, so gameplay would be extremely similar to something like Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag. You can customize Ithano's spaceship as well as his crew. The crew would play a big part in the game's structure. Maybe several, if not all, NPCs can be possibly recruited to serve aboard Ithano's ship. However, if any of them die in battle, their death is permanent and you must replace them with new ones. Kind of like what they're doing with Watch Dogs Legion. You can travel to different worlds and find treasure, doing battle with other pirate clans along the way. Maz Kanata's castle on Takodana can serve as a kind of hub world where you can go to recuperate, purchase supplies, and accept new missions. But halfway through the game, the events of The Force Awakens happen, so the First Order will destroy the castle and you will lose it as a safe house. The galaxy will be thrown into chaos because of the destruction caused by Starkiller Base, so the difficulty will spike, and pirate activity will be much more abundant and lethal. Because of the game's placement in the timeline, you can also cross paths with Balatik and the Guavian Death Gang, or Tasu Leech and Conja Club. If Black Flag has taught us anything, It's that playing as a pirate is a hell of a lot of fun. Add Star Wars into that mix, and it's pretty much a match made in heaven. And speaking of morally questionable treasure hunts, number 6, Dr. Aphra. Dr. Aphra has become one of the most interesting new additions to Disney-era canon. But best of all, the character leads an interesting life that would absolutely lend themselves to a video game adventure. In this game, let's say Aphra has been sent on a treasure hunting mission by 000. She gets dropped off on a remote planet with a small team of colorful mercenaries and is forced to scour the planet for an ancient relic. Of course, the Imperials have established a presence here, and it isn't long before they're throwing a wrench in Aphra's plans. And Aphra has no choice but to obey 000's commands because he's got the homicidal astromech droid BT-1 following her around to ensure she behaves herself. Aphra's stuck between a rock and several hard places, and she has no choice but to find this lost treasure and stay alive for one more day. This game can take place at some point during the run in the Dr. Aphra comic where 000 has become Aphra's master. The comic implies that they've had their fair share of adventures throughout this period, so there is room in the canon for a treasure hunting mission. It all fits like a glove. A lone hero goes on a treasure hunting mission where all kinds of horrible things happen to her. This game is straight up Tomb Raider, baby. Take the newest Tomb Raider trilogy, add Aphra and laser guns, and boom. There you go. Tomb Raider even had a team of characters accompanying Lara who would get picked off one by one. The same fate can befall Aphra's team. As Aphra, you can swim, jump, climb, shoot, and fight your way across mountains, chasms, old ruins, and other inhospitable environments. There's some cover-based shooting, some melee fisticuffs, and plenty of grenades and other dirty little implements of doom that Aphra is known for using. If you really want to make things interesting, have Aphra be shackled to another character at one point. Totally something that would happen to Dr. Aphra. And during that point of the story, you'll have to control both Aphra and her unfortunate cuffmate as they navigate puzzles and try to escape their situation. But pirates, bounty hunters, and crooks are only interesting for so long. What if you want to step into the shoes of somebody who fights on the side of justice? Well, say hello to our next game. Number 7, Cobb Vanth, Sheriff of Tatooine. In the Aftermath novels, Cobb Vanth finds a set of Mandalorian armor, presumably Boba Fett's, and christens himself Sheriff of Tatooine. He vows to right the wrongs on the desert planet and scourge it of the criminal element that has been running things there for far too long. Taking up the armor, Cobb Vanth moves from town to town across Tatooine, righting wrongs, fighting criminals, and protecting the innocent. This will take place immediately following the events of Aftermath Empire's End. For this one, let's go full-on, sprawling, epic RPG. Think Zelda Breath of the Wild or Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Cobb Vanth can climb surfaces just like Link and the Assassins. He has an extensive array of blasters, knives, and other customizable weapons. There are 3 huge cities which can be explored in their entirety: Mos Espa, Mos Eisley, and Anchorhead. Vanth will have enemies galore to deal with. Hutts, gangsters, Tusken Raiders, possibly even remnants of the Empire. You clear out each of the cities district by district, earning experience points and becoming more powerful as you go. You also build a name for yourself. As your notoriety increases, the Hutts send bounty hunters after you, in a manner similar to the mercenary system from AC Odyssey or the War Chief system from Middle-earth Shadow of Mordor. These bounty hunters will put up especially challenging fights and yield huge amounts of XP, as well as unique loot. Through Cobb Vanth, you can explore all the nooks and crannies of Tatooine, from the cities to ancient Tusken ruins and every moisture farm in between. You might stumble across a Krayt Dragon skeleton or two, and yes, you can totally go have a drink in Chalmun's Cantina, because why not? The map is huge and the possibilities are friggin' endless. This is, for lack of a better term, the Elder Scrolls Tatooine. And if that doesn't sound fun to you, then we're not friends anymore. Okay, I know what you're thinking. These games all sound well and good, but they take place in such out-of-the-way, obscure pockets of canon that I don't really care about. I want to play a game with a story that is crucial. I want to play a game where I feel like what I am doing has integral ramifications to the overall Skywalker saga. Well, game number 8 is the game for you, my friend. The Adventures of Luke Skywalker. New Canon has been stingy on the details regarding Luke's activities following the Battle of Endor. We know he eventually started a Jedi Academy, and we know he spent a lot of time training Ben Solo, but before that, we also know that he got up to a fair bit of mischief with this guy, Lor San Tekka. It's been implied that the two of them have had several adventures together uncovering ancient Jedi sites across the galaxy. And that sounds like a video game if I ever heard one. Naturally, this game takes place in the years shortly following Return of the Jedi. Like the Aphra game, this one will be very Tomb Raider inspired, but with a heavy emphasis on Luke's force powers. You control Luke Skywalker for the majority of the game, with Lor San Tekka possibly taking the reins during a few key moments. There are some parkour elements and puzzle solving as well, straight out of the old Indiana Jones and the Emperor's Tomb game by LucasArts. In fact, Indiana Jones is an apt comparison here. Throughout the whole game, Luke and Lor San Tekka should feel like Indian Sulla, gallivanting across the galaxy on grand adventures in exotic locales. Luke has several force powers at his disposal. Push, pull, jump, sprint, throw, all the usual suspects. Each power has tiered levels and can be upgraded through the use of experience points obtained by defeating enemies, finding items, completing objectives, and other accomplishments. Luke can even collect hidden kyber crystals that automatically allow him to upgrade one power. He can also find Jedi and Sith holocrons scattered throughout the temples, which provide huge amounts of backstory in a Mass Effect-style lore database so big you can get lost in it. You learn as Luke learns, completing the immersion. As George would say, it's like poetry. They rhyme. The game could culminate with Luke and Lor discovering the first Jedi Temple on Ahch-To, foreshadowing the events that would shape the later years of Luke's life. Oh, and story group? If you're ever planning on making Mara Jade canon again, this is the place to do it. But wait, you're probably saying. You've talked about 8 games already, and you still haven't touched on a particular Star Wars staple. Vehicles. Where's the love for the vehicles? The love for the vehicles is right here. Game number 9. Step up, please. Number 9. Blue Leader. Rebellions are built on hope, but in order to have hope, you need a savvy group of pilots, technicians, politicians, and soldiers who know what they're doing. The rebellion employed many skilled pilots throughout their run, one of them being Antok Merrick, aka Blue Leader. This game takes place in the months leading up to Rogue One. In fact, the Battle of Scarif could even be the final mission. This one's simple, homies. It's Rogue Squadron from the N64 days, just updated, expanded, and full of new canon lore. As Blue Leader, you'll lead strikes alongside Blue Squadron, taking down the Empire one TIE fighter at a time. Mon Mothma and General Draven will send you on a plethora of missions across the galaxy. You can pilot all of the Rebellion's repertoire: X-Wings, Y-Wings, A-Wings, U-Wings, B-Wings, the works. Of course, completing secret optional objectives and finding hidden collectibles might also lead you to unlocking other special vehicles, like a certain Corellian freighter, perhaps, or a Naboo N1 starfighter, or a flying Cadillac, among others. If you really want to throw a bone to old Legends fans, you could even bring back the Imperial villain from Rogue Squadron, Moff Searden. This gives us a villain that we can actually take down in aerial combat while adding a nice little drop of Legends back into the canon soup. Blue Leader was a fan favorite from the film, so getting to play as him would be an excellent treat. Cameos from the likes of Red Squadron, Admiral Ozzel, and Bail Organa can't be far off either. But X-Wings and TIE fighters are definitely not the only high-speed vehicles to be found in this galaxy. Which, last but definitely not least, leads us to this. Number 10. Now this is pod racing. They have pod racing on Malastare. Very fast, very dangerous. But they also have it on Tatooine and Ando Prime and a host of other planets. It's fast, it's furious, it's exciting as hell, it's video game gold. This could really take place in any era, but just for fun and variety, let's set it a few years before the events of The Phantom Menace. We've all played Episode 1 Racer. The concept is the same. Pick a character, climb into your pod, and complete 3 laps around a harrowing track. Earn money through victories and spend that money upgrading your pod. Rinse, repeat. Think of the career mode in any EA sports game ever. Now imagine applying that to a 6-armed alien who's trying to work his way up the ranks of the pro pod racing circuit. Customize the look of your pod from the shape of the cockpit to the paint job. Outfit it with different features and inner workings and compete in white-knuckle races against a host of other racers who are just as hungry as you are. Pod racing is one of the coolest, richest aspects of film canon that hasn't really been explored past its initial appearance. But think about it. There's a whole galaxy of pod racing lore out there to discover. Who is the Mario Andretti of pod racing? It's probably not Sebulba, or he'd be competing on fancier racetracks than the Bunta Classic. So who is that all-star MVP of the racing world? They'd make one hell of a final boss. And who was MVP before that, 60 years ago? They could be the ones who hand you the championship trophy at the end of it all. Treat this like a big real-life sports game. Have dozens of different racers. We're talking like a Smash Brothers size roster here. Include tracks from just as many worlds. Unlock more racers and more tracks as you progress to really hammer home that feeling of accomplishment. Maybe introduce the idea of having different teams or factions or corporate sponsors. Maybe you can customize your own pit droid team. Maybe if you find some hidden collectibles, you can unlock Anakin Skywalker and his pod. This part wouldn't be canon, of course, just a fun little bonus like an alternate skin. And for the love of God, let one of these racers be a Gungan. Please. The world of sports is a wide one here on planet Earth, and we're just one planet. Take that and multiply it 1,000-fold for the sprawling Star Wars galaxy, and you get a taste of just how awesomely friggin' epic this game could be. So there you go, Star Wars fans. There you go, video game fans. Boom. I just shot those out of my ass. 10 canon video games EA can make today. Now, maybe everybody watching this is just thinking, who cares? And fine, you can think who cares, that's alright. But the fact of the matter is, canon is not shackling the video game developers. It's not holding them down. It's not leaving them unable to come up with great stories and great games, because guess what? I'm not a professional and I just came up with 10. So you can only imagine what the pros can do. And if you liked any of those ideas that I came up with, well, you are going to love this. This is my novel, Side-Scroller. I wrote it all by myself, and it's available right now on Amazon in paperback or ebook, whatever floats your boat. A science fiction love story set in a world that runs on the logic of video games. How can you go wrong there? Anyway, that's all for today. Thank you so much for watching this video essay. My name is Andrew Fantasia. I will see you here next time, and until then, adios.